And a very good evening, everybody watching around the Northern Rivers, New South Wales, and over the big wall, the biggest one since the Berlin Wall since the 1980s, over the other side in Queensland. And if you're bunkered down in any other hard border in Australia, hopefully you're lying low, keeping safe here. This is the Duaneo Podcast. We're here to unravel what was NRRRL action, which has now become null and void, and as because of those very borders, and of course those. So as a result, we are now split in two with the competition as well. We have got northern and southern borders. So we've got the Bubble Cup, literally, and Mickey. What's one for the Southerners, you reckon?
Well, the Southerners, I don't know. Their kind of business is normal as much as the NRRRL is, because they don't have the restrictions if they're not coming to Queensland. They might be the NRRRL.
Yeah, they could be the Summerland Cup or something.
Well, there you go. That could work. So there it is. So of course I'm joined by Mickey Coleman after a big game. Didn't exactly go how you hoped from the Blamble point of view, but you could just see there you're at least you feel like you're on the right side of the border with the clobber on.
Yeah, no, we had a bit of a feeling that it was going to reset back to 0 this week with all the points. So we thought we'll just go pretty easy on the weekend, and decided not to win a game. So yeah, it worked well.
Yeah. And so Mickey, and I said to you off there, I've been born in Queensland. I've got about 7 different Queensland jerseys ranging from all the years. But mate, the way, and it's probably because you're wearing, I might need to have a borrow of that. The way friggin' Anastasia Palaszczuk is running things. She's causing havoc on both sides, but that could be a result of COVID, that I could be wearing something that you've got there by the time this is all over.
Well, if this instance, this like very extreme circumstance, doesn't show that kind of New South Wales and Queensland need each other. They're always debating about the daylight savings times and moving the borders and this and that. It's got to be a bit of give and a bit of take, and maybe this will let people realise, and maybe the Premier up top realise that it's kind of those border states, they need each other.
Absolutely.
They need as much as each other than they do the other. So we'll just see what happens. But yeah, I got representing the Blues tonight, the New South Wales side. So
and look, I'll have a bit more to say on a political scale on tomorrow night's podcast. I'm actually doing my first non-NRRRL related podcast tomorrow night with none other than Griffin Bambridge, who did play for. He's probably going to have a bit to say about it too, because he's based in Byron. He played for Byron Bay FC as a goalkeeper and won a premiership in the local comp. And then he went to play on the Gold Coast comp. And then up until he injured his hand, he was playing in the NPL in Queensland. So he played for Ipswich and Sunshine Coast. But so I'll be getting his thoughts on that. So he'll be. If you want to just hear me talk something other and without the whole NRRRL thing, there'll be another podcast tomorrow. So, and of course, Nathan Cross, who's over the other side of the border, is nestled there. So you basically got free reign at the moment, mate. But who knows when you'll be able to get back into the bay.
Yeah, mate. I can't see me getting down to the bay anytime soon, unfortunately. But mate, it is what it is. So we'll just they're the cards we've been dealt.
That's it. So and I must also too, we're missing one man tonight. He's been given the night off, so he's out in the inland somewhere on he's on having a few Chardonnays at the moment. So so we learnt, but
he's been replaced with a pretty special guest though. So
Oliver Regan's going to have a chat later on and talk things all Ballina and everything that's happening within because they're actually out of the bubble, but he's still in the bubble, sort of speak. So we'll cover that and what all that means for him and the Ballina Seagulls in the next little bit. So speaking of which, more so we'll talk about this on a football perspective, all of this, what this all sort of means. So as I may mentioned, the comp now has been split into two. So we got the Northern Conference, which is your mob, Ballina, Coogin, Moolumbar, but Byron, Tweed Coast as well, but Byron is also mentioned in that. That's counter the fact that even though legally they are not really a associated with, they're not allowed into Queensland. I know all that too well on a personal scale, but a lot of their players are based on the Gold Coast, which you know, the likes of who do you know from Crossy from Byron up that way?
Well, I think Mickey might have mentioned it last week, or sure. Andrew Batista's lived up here for years,
right,
as you know, Duaneo. And I think Carney spends a fair bit of time up here for work and stuff. And I think last count there is 7 or 8 Byron guys who do live in Queensland. And to be fair, you know, in all the years that I've sort of played there, coached there, it's extremely difficult to get local guys to play football at a decent level. They're happy to fill in for Reggie's or whatever, but if you're going to feel competitive for A grade in Byron Bay, you have to have guys from Queensland, unfortunately.
That's right. And Mickey, anything you want to iterate with that?
Well, the new draw came out, and I think already rounds 1 and 2 in the Northern comp were swapped around because we were going to have a bye this week, and Byron were going to play Coogin, and I think Byron's asked if they can swap and just have that extra week. So now Byron have a bye this week, and it might be for that reason, maybe just to actually regroup to see how many people it's going to be affected, and to see if there's a way around that. The Queensland and the bubble kind of thing. It's only my speculation, but that was just we've swapped rounds 1 and 2, and Byron had that extra week off this week. So yeah,
because they didn't train last night.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, on their Facebook. So hopefully they're working it all out and they can find a solution because they were having a pretty good start to the season.
Yeah, that's right. And we were actually a bit concerned that the politics behind this border would hinder Byron against that game against Maris Brothers, which we'll cover in a sec. But I didn't think it was going to be a 52-0 flogging. And the fact that the Reggies had to pull the pin just so they could go play A grade. And Crossy, you watched the game. I didn't catch it, but did it really look as bad as what the scoreline said?
Mate, to be honest, it didn't. And you guys will remember last week I said, I think Brothers will win and they'll win well, regardless of who plays. But when I watched the teams run out on the field, you didn't recognise half the team for the Bay. And to their credit, there's quite a few kids who are either playing 18s or they're under 18s kids. And they really tried hard. Brothers just had too much class on the day. So, they're going to have to get themselves sorted out. It is tricky with this bubble and a lot of guys that – and let's face it, boys, it's not so much about where people live at the moment. It's about where they work. So if it's – and as you know, Mickey, living up sort of around that border region, it's if guys can't then go and work for 14 days because they've got to self-isolate, it's not practical to give that up and go and play a game of footy for 80 minutes, is it?
That's right. Yeah, that's unfortunately the world we live in at the moment. And it's like so I've heard, and I was watching the news today. It's even nurses and nurses from who live in the Gold Coast can't get to Lismore. And it's getting to that point. And it just Sorry, Mickey.
I didn't know if it was people aren't aware or just assume people from like the Gold Coast and things aren't going down to Lismore and work and cross the. You mentioned people from Byron might be going up to the Goldie and stuff to teach and things like that. So it's common. It's very common. And I don't know, maybe the bubble needs to be bigger, not just for the NRRRL, maybe for everyone's work and life and practicality. So,
but as I say, I will have more to say about that on a political scale tomorrow on tomorrow night's podcast, and I'm not going to hold back. Just FYI, but we're strictly football scale tonight and tomorrow. It's all coming out politically. Griff, I hope you're ready, mate. So because as I said, he's someone who's lived in Byron, currently living, but he's with an injured hand in the NPL. But that's if you want to watch on the Duaneo Podcast, subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, and if you want to catch the audio, well, we got this on Spotify as well as iTunes. I think I'm on iTunes at the moment. So, but just to also iterate another thing I've said to you boys and a few others. I'm thinking this North-South conference thing could also act as a trial for maybe next year, because something that I saw when this was sort of came about and reading online is reading a lot of the comments, and let's be honest, they were quite negative to the point where it's like, well, the NRRRL has been a successful competition and how it's been set up for the last 15 years and had very few blips along the way. Now all of a sudden a one in 100 year pandemic wreaks itself. It's like, oh no, we got to change, or NRRRL can't be doing this. This is not working. Go bring Group 1, Group 18 back. And I'm like, well, I sort of agree that not under the banner of Group 1, Group 18, and certainly not for the reasons why, but I'm thinking now that because let's put it this way, if you have Group 1 and Group 18 back, it ain't going to survive. It's NRRRL for a reason, because it makes the competition, it's a grown competition. It's established competition. It has been for many years. It's been successful. I've always said it's probably the most successful country competition outside of Newcastle. And I mean, that's just one man's opinion. So if anyone's listening down south and say Group 7, that's totally, your opinion. But I feel it's a very established competition. And I think it has a chance to even grow further with the likes of, say, well, I hear rumours that Group 2's not looking that flash, and who knows if it's going to even happen next year, if ever at all. But I know Grafton's been banging on the door for years now to get back in. But then it's always been the issue of travel. So Grafton, and you've got, assuming South Grafton come back into it too, because you've got to have both, I feel. I'm even going as far as saying you can have 3 conferences, North, Central, and South, and 5 teams each. And if the heads of the NRRRL are watching, anyone's listening, my idea would be replicate to the ground floor of the Super 15 rugby competition, and how, like, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, like each conference plays each other home and away. And that's, if there's 5 teams in each, that's what I counted. I think 15 in, say, in NRRRL. So 15 teams, 5 in each conference, home and away. And then for the other half, so that would take 8 games, and then the other 8, because it's 16 game competition. The rest, like, you play cross conferences, and no more than one big travel each throughout the course of the year. But that's where I think would be the best way to go about this. Certainly not because of just COVID hitting. I just think that's more for the reason that we need to expand, have Grafton come back in, and then work around that. So not, say, like to Blamble doesn't have to travel, and vice versa, Mickey.
Yeah, I'm all for Grafton coming back in. I mean, we've just been accepted back in at Ballina, and I think Grafton were always real competitive, and they always put up a good fight every week. But I honestly, every time I went down to Grafton over the years, it was never a burden for me. It was almost a fun thing. It was a bus trip. You go down there, you go to Grafton once a year, twice a year, if you have to, and maybe just play everyone once and be done with it. So if whoever's playing, I know at the moment they've split the conferences because of the travel restrictions and the bubble and thing, but we were looking forward to going down to it was only Lismore this week. We'll get a bus down to Lismore, new highway, even Evans Head and stuff's only like an hour and a half away. So
stopping off at the Woodburn pub on the way back, or a few pubs on the way back too.
Ukai, everywhere.
I know you're looking forward to it. I've seen when you were playing in the Gold Coast competition, your bus trips back from all the way from Runaway Bay. I've watched your story, Mickey. But
so Grafton be good.
Crossy, what's your take on that, brother? You reckon Super 15 model kind of just all the Northern teams play once and then cross over, or anything you want to add?
Mate, it's a tricky one because, as Mickey will tell you, mate, the Gold Coast comp, it's a very small comp now, both geographically and number of teams. And you've got 2 Queensland Cup clubs in Burleigh and Tweed there, and Tweed no longer have an A-grade team, so they do feed guys into Tugun and Currumbin and Ballina potentially, whatever. But now that Ballina's down here, that's different. But, mate, it's a hard one. I understand what Mickey's saying. I'll probably go a little bit the other way. I haven't done that Grafton trip a number of times coming from the coast. It does wear thin on you. And I know when I was coaching Byron, mate, Thursday night, boys, we're playing Grafton. Bus is going to leave at 9:30 Sunday morning. And, mate, the amount of times that club committee members have had to play reserve grade, I'm talking guys that are 50, 55-year-old men, because you can't get guys to go to Grafton. Yeah. Byron Bay's always a tricky one because, as I've said before, it's a transient town. It's not a rugby league town. Yeah. It's a tourist town. But it's tricky. And Mickey said a couple of weeks ago, and he made a great point, was that the one downside this year is that some clubs haven't been able to play. But the positive of that is we've had more competitive, less teams, but more competitive teams.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great point. So there's got to be some merit in that as well. And then you look at Grafton being just dominating that Group 2 comp and now wanting to come back in, as you said, Nev. You can't have a situation where you've got clubs like Balambal and Coogin and Moolumbar who are so far up the northern end of New South Wales, Grafton, South Grafton. So, mate, I don't know what the answer is. The old Gold Coast Group 18 and Group 1 days, like the Junior League do it now. Byron Bay and Mullumbimby are in the Group 18 comp. They go north. They don't play against Ballina and Lismore, etc., do they? So
that's right.
I think it's an opportune time to actually sit down and look at it and have these discussions that you raised, Nev.
Yeah, because the point is that I've heard also not in the last week or so, I heard that Northern, like the NRRRL and Gold Coast comp was sort of going to merge and that could be act as a conference. But I think now because it's even more reason why it wouldn't happen now because of state lines. But even before that, to have a Queensland, something under a QRL banner and now a New South Wales Rugby League banner, it would never work logistically. It's all legally. So that's the world we live in. But for me, it's and aside from the fact that it's that why I'm all for just having some rugby league in the field, just for the obvious that the boys want to play. It's simple as that. I'm sure when we talk to Oliver Regan, I'm sure he's gonna iterate to say how much these boys want to play, and it's also too. Our producer, Mark Goff, called me this morning and he was saying how great this is for the economy, for the people that are selling pies, selling drinks, selling, what else do they sell there? Like gear, like, the shirts and stuff, the club shirts. It's good for the economy to get the $6 in the gate for the sponsors and stuff. And I must iterate too, the cameramen, us, and I must also mention that Goffy, who's put so much effort into a lot of us don't just see behind the scenes. We catch a whiff of it here, but he's puts his heart and soul into this. And this year, he's not making a cent profit from what he's doing. Everything he's doing is for love, and he's loving the game because it means so much to him. It means so much to us, and it means so much to the players. So everybody that is saying that, who sit on the sideline, just call it off. So maybe should just take a step back to see that this has been what we've waited for since that end of that grand final last year when Jamie Lyon scored the last try. The next day was like, bring it on next year. We're still buzzing by the end of it. So if you can't see from that point of view, then I guess find something else to watch or something. Let us, go and do the business and let the players play, and we'll see who's on the other side, because that's what I feel.
Well said, mate.
Yeah. All right. So that's okay. So that's basically where we're at with the border talks and stuff. Let's talk about what transpired. Even though it's a null and void round, there was still some football that was played, and still some good moments to be talked about. So let's. So we've covered the Ballina Morris game. For you, Crossy.
Oh, the Byron Morris. Yeah. So, just on that, just to finish. Mitchell Krause scored the first try. He got back into a bit of form, and Josh Patson was outstanding for them, for Brothers. So they'll be quite dominant in that Southern comp, whether that's the green or the gold, whatever it is there. But Brothers look pretty good, I think.
Yeah. So it was 10 tries to Blot, 52-0. Morris getting it done. So Mitchell Krause scoring a double, Isaac Lee scoring a triple, Ethan Mumford, Joshua Patson. He scored a hat-trick as well, and Sean Cresswell and Jacob Fallon kicked 6 out of 6. So also the fact that when you have a few ex-Byron boys from Mars playing there, so getting knowing the blueprint from last year as well also helped as well. So also the other game that was played as well between Coogin and Balambal, that was the live stream game that you and I covered, Mickey. It was a very end-to-end game for the first couple of quarters, and it was actually Balambal just their noses in front. I think it was 10-6, and then Coogin really took, showed us something that we haven't seen for a long time in just one quarter, and all the rest was history.
Yeah, 4 tries in that third quarter by Coogin, and they were just never never looking back from then. If anything, they played their best game of the year. They come out prepared. They come out fired. And whether Ballamble just were kind of took them a little bit easy, or just didn't come out prepared enough after their big win against Merbah 2 weeks ago. I thought it might have been a bit of a walk in the park at Ballamble, but one of the main focuses and points that we've made throughout this whole podcast and the players that I spoke to is you don't want to take anyone lightly. You don't want to underestimate anyone, especially in what was going to be the 10-round season. And yeah, couldn't just come out. Full credit to them. Take nothing away. They played really well. And we were talking about it before off air about the, these 3 rounds, they don't account for any points, but we said, what is that? Ballamble beat Murwillumbah by 2 points in the last minute 2 weeks ago at Merbah. Yeah. It was a huge win. Yeah. And even on the weekend, Coogin had 3 under-18s players making their debut. I mean, Jalen de Groot scored a double on debut. Parker Bryant scored a try on debut. And Tommy Weaver played remarkable as they were men carving, looked like men, and they're just under-18s out there. And you're not going to tell me that was a nothing game. That was a fantastic game for those 3 boys, and they'll remember that forever. So right. Might not have been 2 competition points on the line, but still, it was a good game of football for them, and yeah, they should be really proud. And I think the games that were played, even though there's not 2 competition points, it's still football's football. That's right. Some of the players at the end of the day. So we'll just see how it works out and see what comes from the new competition.
Crossy, did you? You said you caught a bit of the game. What did you make of Coogin? I feel for me that when I must iterate too. I said this off there before we actually went on air. We've got a new liquid paper tape chip leader. Well, equal leader. 10. Coogin made 10 changes, and I thought, well, I think this could be the beginning of something new, because when you have the likes of Joel Hare scored a pretty amazing try in the corner against Northern United, he wasn't playing on the wing. I think Jalen de Groot took his spot, and he was, as I said, he was playing 16s last year, and his old man's already put the highlight reel up, about a good 3 minutes of the highlights up on Facebook, and for good reason. He had the debut to remember.
It's exciting for Coogin, isn't it? And you boys will probably remember me saying last week or the week before about, any good teams have always got a good mix of youth experience and sort of those real toilers that you need. But I thought Coogin lacked that the last couple of times that I've seen him is the youth. And to hear some of those guys, like Tommy Weaver's, he's an outstanding young kid. He's from a great family. And as is Parker Bryant, I played footy with his dad. And great fellas, the Weavers and the Bryant boys. And obviously young de Groot. So, yeah, that's exciting for them. I mean, now you throw in with the guys that we always mention and, with the Zeeble boys and Semi Grants of the world, Sands at the back. That's probably the spark that they're looking for to actually go on a run. And, I didn't tip Coogin on the weekend. Mickey finally got me to tip the Jets.
No one
did. All of you. I got all you to tip the Jets.
Yeah.
That was an absolute stitch-up from Mickey. But, no, good on Coogin. And, I'm glad to see him sort of turn the corner.
And Mickey, you look like you came out of the ground one piece, because you had a bit of a Coogin fan club down the commentary box, just sitting below, shouting stuff. Well, stuff I'm not going to repeat here, but
yeah, no, it was all fun. It's just a bit off-putting trying to listen to the microphone in one ear and my mates in the other. So no, it was well deserved from them. So
And so how is it also too, like, because as we made mention numerous times, your partner playing for the Coogin ladies team, and so was there any ribbing by the end of it back home, or was it?
Nah. I actually had to pick her up from the Kingy Bowls Club. She had a few UDLs throughout the day. I went and picked her up and got another warm welcome from all the Coogin boys that were back there. So
was that punishment? Was that punishment?
Yeah.
So in other words, had you have won, you would have been at the Chindra Tavern, and then she would have had to pick you up and then have all the Ballamble folk.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all fun and games. I'll go watch her again next week at Coogin.
And then that's
go
for
out
sure.
To Ballamble after.
So is that locked in 100%?
I'm fairly certain that the rounds 1 and 2 are swapped around. So Coogin are playing Murwillumbah this week. Ballamble are playing Tweed Coast at Ballamble, and Byron Bay have the week off this week.
Yeah, we better make sure you and me, Crossy, don't end up at the wrong ground on Sunday.
Right, yeah.
That's right.
Because that's all changed as well. And I was supposed to. Well, me and Ms. B was supposed to be out at Glen Innes this weekend for at Stay a Little Farm Stay, but because Ms. B can't go to the inland where they've had the virus didn't exist in this whole pandemic anywhere west of Tenterfield, she's not allowed there. So we're off to Kingscliff for the weekend. So it looks like, wherever we'll end up is it's still, I guess, in vicinity where I'm staying anyway. So a bit of a change. And
there you go, mate. So we don't know where we're going, but if we're at Coogin, I'm just thinking we might get to sit up next to the illustrious Simon Kelly up in the
keeping
in
the scaffolding for us. Yeah. Or
so, mate, get it sorted.
Or if we're at Moolumbar, where we might have to cut out another cardboard box. So we'll see if because the sun goes over the side right there. So we've covered now. So that was the other game covered. So it was a very short round, and we had the other game, and we'll talk to more when we get Ollie Regan on for the chat. We'll talk more about more in depth about the game against Ballina and Northern United. It was it was something that I thought it would be a lot closer than this. I thought Ballina would always win, but to see it 62-10, you said it, Crossy, yourself at the end, towards the end of that game against Coogin the other week, and I said it here last week that if they displayed the similar side kind of defense where they just clock off, Ballina will run a cricket score on them, and when I watched the game last night, that's exactly what happened. It was actually probably not even, and I'm trying to be as kind as I can here, but it wasn't great to let's put it this way. Ballina scored 18 in the first quarter, so it was very similar to when Blamble played, and Northern just, they had didn't have an answer for it. And they had a good moment in the second and third. They had their moments, second, third quarter. But for me, it was pretty disheartening in a way because not to take anything away from the likes of, say, Alex Bishop and as well as Hayden Hanson and a few other boys that weren't playing because of the bubble. But it felt like Ballina were back to their old self. With they had Kel Shiva that sitting on the sideline just casually waiting to say, when am I going to get the start, and he gets his start because Alex Bishop couldn't come over the border. But it just, Ballina were playing let's put it this way, it was they could sell tickets and they could just play tricks in the off season. Some of the players that they were doing flick passes. Michael DUANE. One thing that stood out, which made me feel like throw in the towel kind of thing, was when Michael DUANE ran behind Jess Perry. Jess Perry didn't see him, but he knew Michael DUANE was there ready and just flicked past him the ball. And Michael DUANE just took about forever and a day to get through this wide gap and awarded his own try. You'd probably see in the footage. And it was Northern United. They had the cracking game last week, and it wasn't the same team at all. Yeah,
that's the problem, isn't it, with Northern? And that was my concern, that Coogin didn't actually hold the ball long enough last week to get any fatigue into Northern United, and we always knew that Ballina would do that. So, I did have grave concerns for Northern going into the game. I didn't think it'd be 62, but I didn't think it'd be pretty.
Mickey, did you catch any of the game at all?
Yeah, I do think that it is 100% accurate what you both were saying. And Northern did have their chances early. One of their tries was disallowed for a double movement fairly early, and I thought that was a bit harsh, actually. I thought he got there from when I was just watching it, and I didn't know what the ref was kind of second-guessing about. Could have been a double movement, though. And then they done another one where they tried a quick chip and chase, and they re-gathered the ball. That's a try, and it was 24-6 before they got their first try. Yeah, exactly. So, but it could have been up there, it's a 16-all. If those things had gone their way, it would have slowed it down a lot more. But like you said, if Ballina just got all that ball and Northern aren't getting the ball and they've got to defend, then...
And that's right, Mickey. Must iterate too that Ballina had about 3/4 of the possession. So watching Brisbane, how they play as of late, and I've said this time and time again, one of the key factors why they get smacked on the scoreboard week in, week out is you look at the possession rate, it's like 75% to 25%, and that was pretty much very similar there. But when it was 18-0 after that end of that first quarter, Northern just didn't want to be there. You could just see in the body language. Say after every time that Ollie Regan scored the 3 tries in one quarter of the game, there was just lots of people lying down just like they wanted to get out of there. And that's what the body language just showed. And it was and the thing is as Mickey was alluding to, if they played a lot like the second quarter and the first quarter, it wouldn't be 62-10. And it might, I would feel it'd be a little bit more closer, maybe, because I just think it was like once it's 18-0, it's like, well, what do we do now? You know,
it's tough.
What do we do now?
Up.
How we can? Yeah, they just threw it around. There was no structure in play like it was against Coogin. And when they did score that last try at the end of the hooter, like Ollie Regan, like they had Ollie Regan the beat, and Ollie Regan wasn't really even urgent to make the tackle, you know. So it just, if you go back and watch it, it was. But look, it's another week next week. Hopefully, Northern United can pick up some of the form that they had in the first couple of weeks, and they showed that once they get their mindset right, defense, they can hold them out. They can make. I said that in the call. Look up the other week that they have got the defense in them, and they've got plenty enough attack to score points. But just for me, until they can realize that they can have the mentality to play an 80-minute game, it's there. And if you're on huddle, it's there to see. Well,
if hearing what Mickey said before, that I'm actually pleased about that. If they've had a couple of try scoring opportunities, maybe we're a bit stiff on not getting one of them, and we're sort of in the game. I'm actually glad to hear that, because not only do you not get the points from the tries, it's the emotional damage that goes with it, that particularly when you look up and you're playing Ballina, you sort of think, well, today's not going to be our day. So at least they're close. So that's as much as the scoreboard didn't say it, it's probably a closer result than what it appears.
Okay. Okay. All right. So with this week ahead, boys, I'll ask you both, you boys, this. We're not sure about what's happening with the tips at the present. So, we're unable to tip because we're not sure if round 2 and 1's going to be swapped around. So, but all I know is that you and I were leading that, Crossy, and Mickey's sort of glad now that that's all.
Hey.
Put away.
It was going to be I was going to do an investigation anyway with the tip counting, so it's back to square one.
It's up on YouTube, but as I say, you've been probably hanging around Shorey too much, but they call me Nixon for a reason.
Nixon. Wonder what does Shorey think Shorey have to say?
Oh, mate, he's been out at less for too long, and he's spending too much time on the Gold Coast and doing that Gold Coast Rugby League competition.
Let's give that bloke no airtime whatsoever.
He's allowed into Queensland, and like I'm not, so he can go stay there.
Yeah, well, when we confirm the roster for this week, we'll enter our tips in, and we'll get back to him to see. And
I'll snapshot and send it to you, so you know I'm not cheating. As I said, I'm not a crook. But all right. So that wraps up because it's a bit of a shorter week. That wraps up the NRRRL chat. We're gonna then have the chat with Oliver Regan. But that will be it for, well, I guess it's round 1 now. We're back to round 1 again. So, anyway, that's all for the NRRRL talk. As I said, if you want to subscribe to this podcast, because as I made mention, about to have another podcast which is not related to NRRRL, but just if you just want to hear what's going on, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and we're, of course, on Instagram as well as Spotify. But we'll be back next Sunday. When we come back, we'll be on deck to talk to Oliver Regan about all things that's happening with Ballina and what's happening on the southern side of the bubble. And welcome back to the Duaneo Podcast, episode number 11 here. And joining us for the chat, had a big game against Northern United this past Sunday, scoring a hat-trick in the third quarter, and as well as about 9 goals, was it, Ollie? About 9 goals?
I think so.
Yeah, close to 9 goals.
Bloody lost count.
None other than premiership winner.
Because all the boys, they all ran around to the middle for me. It was unreal. I've never had before.
Joined here by none other than premiership winner for the Ballina Seagulls, Oliver Regan. Great to have you on the podcast tonight, brother.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Good to be here.
Yeah, so let's reflect on that game this past Sunday. So playing against Northern United, they had a big game against Cochin this past the Sunday before, and we said on the podcast last week it was their real chance against you guys have been the defending premiers to see where they really stood. You didn't let up on them at all, man, and you were definitely probably the player of the game. And so what was the plan going into that game, knowing what you saw against Northern the week before?
Definitely worried about their like backline's pretty insane. Like they have some unreal players in there, like Clarence Kelly. Like he's been covering for a few years now, and they got the two halves in Roy Bell and like Trevor Bolt. So definitely like their backline was a big sort of mark we had against them, just to sort of be wary of everything and like early kicks and all that sort of stuff. So I think we sort of try to stick to keep our boys going up through the middle because we got like a little small fit forward pack now, like losing a few of the other boys. So just try to get up to the middle, and try to get in front of Clarence on that. So
and you took the next question out of my mouth. It was basically with the whole border bubble thing, and we've talked about it, about how that's affected a lot of the players, especially ones further up north. I noticed too, Alex Bishop didn't play, being from Q Cup. Also, Hayden Hance was another one that was missing too, I noticed.
Yeah, I missed Bishop, Hayden, Nick Ritter, Sammy Saluma, and Ray Buchanan, our centre. All those boys are up north. So, ended up being about 5 of them, but it was pretty good because we had a few boys come back to the club who played 18s like last few years. Like Jordan Sly, he played on the wing for us, and like all those boys played really well. So, it was good. There's been plenty of depth in our reserve grade sort of thing. So, it was good. It was good to give those boys a chance as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched. You were talking about your forward pack there, Ollie, but the number 10, who is that? The big guy, might help me out with the name. He was a pretty big guy a few years.
Is it Tyson Binge?
Yeah, maybe, but he's pretty big, but he's fast as well. He made that half break at the start.
Could be. It might be Cam Copeland.
Yeah, whoever it was, but you're talking about getting on the back of the forwards, and
that's Cam.
Yeah, so they're getting the roll on, and then it looks like you guys are scoring the tries out in the backs. And number 3 for you guys, the centre.
Zach Beecher, is he on the left side?
Yeah, he was, and he got that intercept, took the intercept, and then you picked it up from first receiver to score your try in the corner.
That's Zach Beecher. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you say, you're missing all the 5 other players, but you got these, the depth. It looks pretty good, and I don't know how your reserve grade team went on the weekend as well. But if you miss out those Q Cup players or those Queensland players throughout the season, you're pretty confident that you got the depth to keep going and put a strong impact in the competition without those players.
Yeah, no, definitely. Our reserve grade side, they got out to a bit of a lead on the weekend, and then we sort of snagged all a fair few of their players, and then up having a 20 or draw. So sort of stitch them up there. But even losing those 5 blokes who are obviously good quality in that, we still have just plenty of blokes around the club who step up, Zach Beecher, he's been killing it this year, sort of thing. So, and then Dwayne Anderson, he's new bloke from Dubbo. He scored, I think, 5 or 6 tries already this year. So he's going good.
Good problem to have them.
Yeah, for sure.
Grozzy?
Hey, Ollie, Crossy here, mate. How you going?
Hey, mate. Yeah, good, mate. How you going?
Good, buddy. Hey, mate, I didn't see your game on the weekend. I watched one of the other games, but I know you just went through the boys who weren't available there. You didn't mention Luke Douglas. Did Dougie play for you guys on the weekend?
He did.
Yeah, no, he played. Yeah, yep.
So what's he going to do, mate? Obviously, he's sort of based up here. I train with him every Tuesday morning. Didn't see him yesterday, so I wondered he must be down in the Ballina bubble. So what's Dougie's plans moving forward? Is he sort of going to base himself down there and just sort of see the season through?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's been pretty flexible with his work and study. He's working with a few boys from Ballina, like Max Beechman, Chris Evans, and all those sort of boys. So I think he's just sort of perching up down there for the next few weeks and see what sort of happens. And he's just committed, mate.
That's it, mate. He's a good man. How have you found his sort of style this year? And he'll tell you himself, he's a first time coach. How have you found him in relation to say Killer last year?
Yeah, I mean, they're both super relaxed people. I'm sure you know, knowing both the boys, but Killer was just heaps relaxed and talked a lot of shit at training and just carried through. But I mean, Dougie's the same. I think Dougie's a bit more of a footy nerd. He sort of I know he's sort of really enjoying like the coaching side of things. So like he's been unreal, I think. So no, it's been good. Like he's sort of like because he's so nice and that. I think he just needs to tell us what to do, and like say it's my way the highway sort of thing. But like it's been unreal. Like he's been doing heaps of good stuff at training and that. So yeah, no, he's been really good.
That's good. And just you touched on before Zach Beecher. I gave him a sort of bit of a rap last week. Thought he played outstanding, and I suppose he's probably getting that bit older now, isn't he? Like he's got probably a couple of years ago when you guys were dominating, as you sort of still are now, but he was sort of one of the young boys coming through. But now, particularly with the guys you've lost, he's a guy you really got to have to rely on, and becomes all of a sudden a pretty senior player, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think he's still in that rep side, so he must be about 23 or so. So, but yeah. He's been playing first grade at Ballina for years. Like I know he went away for a few years, but he like won a comp when he was like super young, playing hooker and that. So, but now that he's had a few years under his belt, he's definitely he's been unreal. He's just a ball of energy as well on the field. He's like taking a lot of carries and just always wants to be involved there. So it's good.
Yeah, spiders on him last week.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, he's been killing it. But I think I don't want to give him too many more raps. So he'll be he'll get a big head.
That's it.
So So, Ollie, as you made mention, you had guys like Jordan Lee come into the line. As you said, you've lost about 4 or 5 players. I only thought you might have lost a couple, but turns out to be 5. So, so you boys all train together at I've said it in podcasts from time to time. Do you find that, like, for example, that with all you boys have been, trained together every week, and then you've been mates for all these years? Do you find that it's almost, I wouldn't say a good thing, but you just feel it's like you're just going back to what worked back all those past years when knowing each other's plays from time and time again with, through, I guess, how do you put it? Just, what's that?
Yeah, just like knowing how each other plays and like what everyone's strengths are, you know what I mean? Like I've been playing with Jess Boone at Colin for years, sort of thing. So like even those younger boys, like we have been training with it's like Tuesday nights is always like all grades in together and that sort of thing. And it's been a super long preseason because of the COVID break and all sort of stuff. So just having those blokes around the club, like it's good having. It's pretty hard to hang on to that 18s boys coming out 18s because like they would end up like going rugby and playing 19s or whatever. But
that's right.
Like the boys that do stick around have been unreal, been like really good. So. Yeah, no, it's been good.
And because as you may mention about the under 18s, they've been 3-time premiers. There's a lot and 3 times of asking. And so, what other of those lads from the under 18s can we expect to maybe see come up as a result of all this border bubble stuff?
Well, we got Jordan Slow debuted on the weekend. He went away last year to Evans and played in the first grade there, but he's an 18s boy. Like Geordie Lee, who got I think it was his run on debut on the weekend and like carved up. So a few of the other 18s boys. I mean, there's Hamish McClintock. He's a half the under 18s. He's pretty handy. And there's like Ryan Mansfield. I think he still might be 17 or whatever. But like there is a fair few gun juniors like hanging around Ballina, so it's good. So keeping us older boys moving to training. Yeah,
Ryan Mansfield. He was playing under 16s last year, and we saw Kudgeon. Me and Mickey were calling Kudgeon Blamble the other day, all the 16 boys from Kudgeon coming up. So it's sort of forced a hand a little bit, I dare say, with all the politics and whatnot that's happening with the borders and stuff. So speaking of which, so you guys, despite losing 5 players, you're nestled into the Southern Conference. Was it the gold bubble or the green bubble? And you'll be there you've got Mullum Bimby first up under a revamped competition. So what do you expect against Mullum? I'm
not too sure what to expect against Mullum. I know they've got a new captain coach in that this year, and I know they always make a few good signings and that, but it's always a very physical game up against Mullum. I could definitely expect to get my head taken off a few times, but I'm not too sure because I haven't really seen too many games of theirs this year. And I think they had I think their game got cancelled on the weekend, so
that's right.
I couldn't really say too much.
Okay, and Mickey, you have a sorry, Crossy, did you want to chime in there?
No, I was just going to ask Ollie, mate, is Mick Thomas still running around for Mullum? Do you know?
Yeah, he is. I don't know what his plans are, but he sent me a message the other day that he's playing backer on reserve grade for Mullum. So I don't know what he's doing. But I definitely won't rule him out. He's always popping up around there. So
Okay.
I'm tipping if you're playing this week, he's going to pop up as number 17 and come off the bench.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, but bloody hell, like he's a good player. Like he's like a good fella and a good player. So good to see him play again.
Yep.
And just on a lighter, harder note, Mickey, the bloke who runs your Instagram page, can you? Does he play any? Like, I believe he coaches the women's team. So does he tend to play nickelback at training at all? Because I've noticed a few posts that he just.
Oh yeah, that's Joycey. He's that out of touch with the youth. I don't know what's going on.
Mate,
like some of the music he's got going on is ridiculous.
Oh,
it's
mate.
shocking.
Mate, I know. Well, let's put it this way. I think he's a generation above me. Like, he's a good bloke. I caught up with him a couple of years ago. We got a mutual friend in Brett Saville, played in a rock band called Stone Mountain, which is original rock band, which basically reflect off Kiss and Judas Priest and all those kind of bands. But just tell him, mate, he needs a revamp in his music taste. But he'll probably
definitely. He needs to get some youth around here, sorting out for sure.
And Mickey also had a little present for you as well. So Mickey,
you're a Blamble. I mean, you're a Ballina junior, are you, Ollie?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you went off and you played for. You're at. There we go. Burleigh Bears and Redcliffe Dolphins. Just wanted to know what's going on with this photo here. It's not photoshopped either, by the way. So,
mate, but I think this one was about 20 views. I reckon you both stitching up. I think that was down for the 2019 season. I come down for a few sessions because I live up at Tweed, so I'm not far away from the Lamble field. So
do you still live there now? Are you still up that way now, or?
Yeah, no, still in Tweed. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just sort of the border.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
next year,
a little bit of trouble.
We'll keep that photo for next year. Then we're still working on it. So.
Isn't it? Well, what's the cutoff date for trade? He might be able to, like, if he wants to go up to the Gold Coast and stuff, he might be forced to wear that jersey again, Mickey. What do you reckon?
Oh yeah, I don't know if we got enough players to swap for Ollie at the moment. We haven't been playing too well, so we'll talk contacts. So.
We only scored 3 tries and kicked 9 goals on the weekend.
Yeah,
you're a harsh man. All right, so anyways, so that's so you got the game against Smart. So has the mindset changed at all now that it's because we basically, Crossy said we basically had 3 trial games now, more or less, because they now don't, because they've set the table back to 0. So has the mindset changed at all under a revamped competition, or is it still all systems go?
So is that what's happened?
Well, yeah, that's so basically, basically it looks like it's now going to be a reset of the table because it's. I guess it's because a lot of the teams can't play against each other now, so it's been kept in the box. So I think it's just 2 different ladders and finals are to be determined kind of thing. Yeah, so still not sure what's going on with finals and that, or so it's just sort of getting. I think it's just too big. Like it's getting figured out. So
yeah, right.
Yeah. So.
Hey, Ollie, just a question without notice. Like, if you've just heard that then for the first time, like, how does that what's your initial thoughts, mate, when you hear that maybe those 3 games are done, you don't get any points, you start again, you may not play finals? Like, what's your initial thoughts when you hear that? Well, like with the points thing, I don't know. I think that's a bit. It definitely does suit other teams better than us, sort of thing, because we've already won our 3 games, and I played against Blamble, Marist, and Northern, like 3 good sides, sort of thing. So 3 good wins. Yep. So sort of spewing to going back to 0, but I don't know. Sort of with the mindset thing, like this season's already been so different to what we've all experienced already. So it just sort of is playing it by ear. But I definitely hope that there is points. Sort of, I mean, like that there is a final series for the year and that sort of thing. I definitely, would like something to aim for, sort of thing. Sort of like rather than going with no points.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Yeah. It's we're not sure when in this COVID world we live in. Everything just changes just like that. So hopefully, like everyone keeps safe and we can keep playing football and then we can have the final series and then just get out of the way in the next couple of months. And
I think the Entry have done well to keep us still playing. Like there's a lot of other comps that have just pulled the pin all together, so they've done well there. But yeah, I'm definitely keen on like some sort of final series and that. So see what happens.
And so are we. And hopefully we'll be able to see you out there doing the business even further, Ollie. So we'll leave it there. So So Ollie, thank you so much for taking for about 10, 15 minutes of your time with us, and we'll have to get you back on for another chat throughout the course of the season.
Cheers, Phil. Cheers for having me.
Cheers, man. Have a good night.
On you, mate.
See you, mate.
See you later. Cheers.